All right. I think I'm live. Sorry. I was sorry, gang. I was trying to make sure that I had everything together here. But welcome to another live session here with Kitchen 365. For those of you that don't know, my name is Hayden Ellis. I am a digital marketing account manager here at Kitchen 365. So yeah, I work with a lot of our clients on the digital marketing side of things to help grow their business. But today, I am here to talk a little bit about one of our proprietary platforms here at Kitchen 365 and one of the tools that it incorporates. But in a broader way, I'm really just here to talk today about how visualization tools can basically turn browsers into buyers. How it can help facilitate sales for cabinet businesses and how it kind of helps the buyer's journey along the way. So, more specifically, a few of the specific points that I want to touch on today are basically real life photography versus renderings, pros and cons of each of those, how to build an interactive gallery on your website with like swatch previews and different style offerings and things along those lines. And then a virtual try before you buy tool, which is what I alluded to before with basically a tool that's incorporated into one of our proprietary platforms here at Kitchen 365. And then we'll kind of wrap up with a little bit of talk on some like style inspiration boards even, and kind of how those can be incorporated and used in rather on both your website and maybe even in your marketing efforts as well. Okay. So let's just go ahead and get started. And we will start with that discussion on photography versus rendering. So short answer for those of you that just want to get to the meat of the conversation is good to have both, right? I think each of them has their merit in the conversation. But if we wanted to dig into a little bit more about the specific pros and cons of each of these, let's do that. So we'll start with photography, and don't worry, along the way I'll show examples and stuff of what I'm talking about and how all this looks in practice. But wanted to discuss kind of the meat of the conversation here first. So the pros and cons of real life photography. Well, it's authentic, shows obviously real visuals of like completed projects, tangible, the cabinets that have actually been built, used, implemented into a particular kitchen or bathroom, right? So it gets to kind of show off the real look and feel of it, right? Strong for social proof and showing kind of craftsmanship, right? So again, like it's the real deal. It's what's actually happened. So it shows that one, people are actually using your product. Two, it looks great in practice, in use, in a real life kitchen or bath. So something to consider, right? And then last thing is it's great for before and afters, right? So if we're looking through a marketing lens, show the old dingy, dusty, dirty, cruddy kitchen or bath versus the wow, ultra modern or just totally refinished, amazing looking new kitchen with all these brand new cabinets. Looks so great, and countertops, whatever, right? If you just totally have redone the kitchen, then there you go. But wow, look at this awesome before and after. A couple of cons on photography. One, it's kind of costly, or can be kind of costly and time consuming. What I'll call out there is it doesn't have to be, though, right? And I think this is one of the things that I've discussed before in one of the prior live webinars here. But you really don't have to invest thousands of dollars to get quality photos of your products or of projects that have been completed. It can be as simple as pulling out your iPhone, snapping a few photos, and using those. And these days that's yes, you're not going to have maybe 4K resolution, but you don't necessarily need that, right? At least if you want to get started, if you're looking for a simple way to get into having more more assets really, or just more visual creative on your website or in your marketing efforts, really easy way to do it is just pull out your phone. Secondly, can be hard to update quickly. So what I mean by that is, again, let's say you've redone or a kitchen has been redone with this particular product line in it, and you've snapped a few photos, uploaded it to your site, but now that same project, let's say, is you've redone the whole thing. Like if it's a multifamily project, for example, the whole thing's been refurbished with a new product line or an updated product line, whatever. You want to get updated creative. Well, then you have to kind of obviously go through the process of redoing that. But again, doesn't have to be a super time consuming thing. It could be as simple as snapping a few new photos and then getting them added to the site, or making some new ad creative, something like that. Don't overthink it. Last thing I'll mention as far as cons for the photography or real life projects is you're limited, right, by nature to what you've already built or what's already been done to existing projects, finished projects. Whereas with renderings, obviously you can basically create an unlimited number of those. You're limited to the projects that you've already completed. That's why I think to a certain extent we'll get into renderings, but there could be some benefit there for maybe the folks that are a little earlier on, where they don't have as many completed projects. You can put together some really nice renderings and it'll look pretty nice. But let's go ahead and dig into those renderings a little bit, right? So similarly, a few pros and cons. Pros, super scalable. So like I said, you can crank those out. I mean, with the help of a designer, of course, but you can crank those out pretty quick and get a ton of variety of a ton of different kitchen types, a ton of different product lines, whatever, right? A ton of different layouts or whatever. You can do a lot with renderings, whereas with those existing projects, again, you're limited to what you've done, what's been completed. You can control every factor, so they're super customizable. So whereas with photography, obviously lighting might be a concern, right? What if it's middle of the night, but you wanted, or not middle of the night, but later in the day, let's say, and you want some of that natural light, but I don't know, looks weird and tinged orange because of the sun or something like that, right? So you can obviously control all of those factors in a rendering as opposed to photography. Some of that stuff you're going to be limited on, but and then easy to customize with like new stuff if people ask you for specific renditions, I guess, right? So let's say, for example, you've used a rendering in an area of your website, and someone's like, whoa, that's like exactly what I want for my kitchen, but I would change like XYZ. Super easy to go back and customize those and change them for like further use. You can repurpose them, basically, is the point I'm getting at. So yeah, I mean, super, super nice to have. Here's a couple of the cons. We've gotten, or rather some of our clients have gotten criticism when they're using a ton of renderings that it looks a little too perfect, right? Or artificial kind of looking. So it's like they can't really get a feel for what the thing would actually look like in practice. And we get that, at the end of the day, this is a visual representation of what something could or hopefully would look like once it's actually finished, built, and integrated into the home. But it's not one-to-one with real life. It's just not. The good news is with quality designers, with people that know what they're doing, you're usually not going to have as many of those criticisms, but it's still going to happen, right? Again, it's never going to be one-to-one. So something to consider, but not an absolute reason not to use renderings. And then to a certain extent, it could lack some of the emotional connection, right? Because again, it's not the real thing. So you don't have the customer testimony to go along with it to say, wow, this was an amazing project. These guys were awesome. They were super on point throughout the whole process. And gosh, the quality of the product, the quality of the cabinets was just outstanding. You're not going to necessarily have that. That emotion won't necessarily be behind what you're doing. That said, again, the whole point of renderings is it's a visual representation, right? So it's what could be. So I would consider that when you're looking at how you want to implement these visual assets into your website or into your marketing efforts. Before, well, actually, never mind. Sorry. Just to kind of recap the photos versus renderings. Generally speaking, I say use both if you got them. But just remember, each of them has sort of pros and cons. So depending on how you want to use them, maybe one might be slightly better to use than the other. But don't limit yourself. Don't overthink it, and you'll be just fine. Again, I'm going to show examples of this here shortly, but want to get through a couple of these points first, and then I can kind of go back and showcase in practice what a lot of this stuff looks like. Moving on to the interactive galleries and how to implement that on your site, right? So when I'm talking about an interactive gallery, what I'm really meaning is like an area on your site that makes it easy for people to navigate the different sorts of visualizations that they're looking for. So for example, right, you've got, let's say, like an inspiration gallery on your site, an area where, they can find renderings of different color or stain combinations of different cabinets, or used with different countertops or different layouts or whatever, right? An area of your site where the point is someone who is, let's say a homeowner who is planning on doing a renovation for their kitchen or their bathroom, can go take a look at some of these and just spur some ideas for their own home. The interactive galleries, when I say interactive, the interactivity comes in when you're looking at how easy it is to navigate and find the stuff that they're looking for. So let's say, for example, they are looking for a specific style of cabinet, let's say a shaker. But they want non-painted, they want some natural stains. Cool. It's great and super user-friendly for them to hop on a website and be able to navigate to those particular styles, right? Having filters included on those sorts of inspiration pages so they can easily do that and find what they're looking for is a huge win. It's gonna make their life easier. It's gonna make them want to work with someone who's made their life easier. So that's something to consider. Also, having the option to zoom in or zoom out, on like specific details of a particular like rendering, for example, is super nice to have. Being able to compare multiple styles or products side by side is a super nice thing to have. Again, none of these are absolute necessities, but when you're looking at ways to improve user experience and help out your clients a little bit more, these are huge wins. Viewing different swatches or different lighting in different ways, things along those lines, right? So yeah, again, just when I'm referring to interactive galleries, what I'm really talking about here is, one, having an area on your site where, a gallery on your site where folks can find either inspiration or past projects like we had talked about before, and stuff like that, and then ways for them to easily navigate and filter through all of those assets. Because in an ideal world for you, right, you'd want to have a lot of stuff to showcase. So make it easy for them to look through it. When you are creating a gallery, though, a few more things to consider outside of just like the navigation and filtration part of it. One, make sure it's mobile friendly. I can't stress this enough. I mean, this goes for your site in its entirety, obviously, but let's just zoom into this page specifically. Make sure that it's easy for them to pop in and out of these images and refilter and so on and so forth on mobile, because the vast majority of the time that's where they're going to be. Traffic is moving that way. We all have a supercomputer in our pocket, so the vast majority of the time, especially if someone's on the go or they think of something spur of the moment, or they're inspired spur of the moment, or think about whatever, they're going to hop on their phone and they're going to go to the site and or look it up and maybe find your site, and right. So just make it easy. Make it easy for them. Try to include different like swatch color viewers that are quote unquote true to color previews. Obviously we're on screens, so the color of a particular cabinet or stain or style might look a little different than what it might look like in actuality. Your goal is to match it as closely as you possibly can, for accuracy's sake, and again for the sake of the user experience. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to know what they're getting into, right? Yes, they can order samples. I encourage that for any homeowners out there, to order samples, or as well as any distributors, manufacturers, dealers. Make sure you're offering samples. I know that's a no-brainer, obviously, in most cases, but you never know. But yeah, highly encourage samples. But still, we want to make sure that if someone is online, maybe they haven't thought about or haven't gotten to that step yet, but they are considering it. They want to make sure, so they're getting a few options. Try and just match as closely as you possibly can. That's the goal. And then for renderings, having like a light and dark mode for those like basically simulated rooms is super cool and super helpful for people. So consider that too when you're creating these sorts of pages or galleries, so that people can, when they're hopping on, say like, what is it going to look like in the day versus the night? Again, not an absolute necessity, but a really nice thing to have. Okay, gotten through a few of these details. Let me show you guys an example of what I'm talking about here with these galleries. So I'm going to add this. Yeah, perfect. So what we're looking at here is a company called Click Studios. They offer cabinets, obviously, but they've got one of these pages. And what's really cool is they've got an option for real projects as well as concepts and renderings. So they've got both, which is great, right? Like I said, that's a super nice to have, not an absolute necessity, but a really nice to have. And you see here, they've got all these different filtration options. So super easy to navigate, super easy to find what you're looking for. But let's just pop through a few examples. Let's go back to real life projects first. Let's say I want to look at some RTA. Let's say I'm looking for a shaker. Let's say I'm looking for, I like green. I've got green in my house. Okay, maybe not green. Let's just go white. How about that? Okay, perfect. So now we've got a much more concise offering here. I found what I'm looking for. I can pop into this particular thing. It shows me, on the right-hand side, a lot of the specifics that I had actually input, right? I put RTA, I put white. So it's, kind of confirming that. But yeah, then just walks through a few images of that particular project. And then if we go back, again, just it's really, really comprehensive. What they've done here is really, really solid. So not mad at it at all. And then obviously, hey, look at that. They included a CTA. Oh my gosh, groundbreaking. But no, in actuality, it's a really, really, really well put together page, or series of pages area of their site. So great example of how to do it right. But same thing on renderings, right? So they've got a similar deal going on over here. Let's look at RTA once again. Let's look at, let's say frameless. Why not, right? Okay, well, that already narrowed it down pretty well. So let's take a look at this one then. Give this a sec to load, hopefully. Perfect. So yeah, they got a really nice rendering here with, all the product details and all the coloring options and so on and so forth. You can slide through. It shows different layouts maybe, or different, slightly different colors / stains. So really cool. And highly recommend you have an area of your site that functions in a similar vein to this. But yeah, if you want to check this out, again, for reference, it's a company called Click Studios. They are doing it right. Pop back over here. So that's that. A few more things I want to talk about in terms of visualization, because it's not all about renderings and it's not all about photos. There's also, other opportunities for you to show off your products in a visual way. One of those is a sort of a visualization tool, a try before you buy kind of tool. And what I mean by that is basically a tool that allows you to kind of on your own, not requiring a designer, or rather a homeowner or whatever, on their own without a designer, to select a different layout, a different, style, stain, color, whatever, of cabinets and countertops, and be able to basically build a kitchen, right? That they can then be like, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for, and then take that from there. Maybe chat with some designers on some specifics and take some pictures of your home in particular and say, okay, this is really like more so what I'm looking for. And what's great about those is, again, it's sort of a try before you buy, right? So yes, still encourage them to get samples and whatnot, but they've now had this really great personalized interactive experience with your company to be able to, by and large, build something that's pretty close to what you're looking for, right? So something to consider for sure when you are looking at visualization options for your websites. Having something like that on your site is great. And I'll show you an example of that here shortly. But another sort of visualization tool is an AR preview. When I say AR, I'm talking about augmented reality. So there's really cool tools out there these days where basically what it allows you to do is take your phone and kind of in real time look at your cabinetry, or look at your kitchen, look at your space, whatever it is that you're updating, and add whatever cabinet style or whatever color or whatever, changes that you're kind of looking for in real time, and just through your phone be able to, well, for lack of a better term, visualize what it would look like once you make those changes. Super cool. Once again, super interactive and super specific. The benefit there, obviously, is it's your kitchen, right? It's their kitchen in the moment. Whereas with a visualization tool, it's not necessarily. It's layouts, right? And things like that. And you can build a custom kitchen, but it's not going to be your custom kitchen, whereas AR will be, and with the updates. Again, there are limitations there as well. It's not going to be as maybe nice looking, right? Is the best way to put it? Because it is, the benefit there is it's in the moment, real time, live and interactive, right? But the visuals might not be as crisp, if that's what you're looking for. Lastly, interactive style quizzes. Once again, really nice for people to get inspired. Ask them a few questions about the sort of aesthetics that they like, and then spit out some recommendations for them. This is maybe the kind of room you're going for. This is maybe the kind of cabinetry you're going for. This is maybe the general vibe that you're going for. And it'll really walk them through that process. And it's super simple, guys. All you have to do is create some logic, create a simple quiz with a few questions and answers, and then boom, it spits out an answer. But that said, the good news is Kitchen 365 kind of has your back already, because we've got a lot of these tools already built into our proprietary platform. So wanted to show you kind of what I'm talking about there. Let me get this pulled up once again, and we will dive into it. So scrolling down here, I'm on one of our demo portals, basically, demo sites. And I'm on the visualizer page. So if you scroll down here, it's got a bunch of different layouts. So let's choose one. Let this load for a sec. But this is kind of the process that your prospective customers would go through. So you can zoom in and out. You can kind of drag around and look at different areas of the room, right? So it starts by looking at the island, but you can adjust all this stuff. So let's do that, for example. Let's go here to our island. Let's choose a different door style. I like this one, maybe, huh? Wow, beautimous. Navy blue. But yeah, you can basically select what you want, and it'll update it for you. So let's do this. Boom. Look at that. You can adjust all this stuff. It's really, really cool. But yeah, basically gives you the option to change things how you might like. Bunch of different options. You can select different hardware options, right? All that stuff. Going over here. Same thing. You can adjust all this stuff. Let's say we want, what did I do over there? Like a wood. So let's do, can we do blue? Yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool, huh? But yeah, you can show in real time kind of what the kitchen, not what your kitchen, but what a kitchen would look like, right? So it's pretty cool. You can make a ton of changes and kind of play with a little bit. They get the opportunity to design something that's sort of all their own. It's really, really cool. Another thing is that style quiz that I talked about. So going back up here, if we go to dun, 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 dun. Oh no, where did I? Oh, am I on the wrong site? I totally am, aren't I? I think my example is actually over here on Click Studios once again. Oh, yeah, but just popping over to this style quiz makes it super easy once again to kind of discover what you're looking for. So, boom, pops you right into the quiz. You select the sort of stuff that you like. I think for me, let's say, I'm going to go with slab. I'm going to go with painted. I like green. I mentioned that before, didn't I? This is a question. I'm going to go dark. I think dark vibes are kind of my thing. As soon as possible, huh? As cheap as possible, huh? And then boom, right? Like they can get their results. All they have to do is fill out a form. So it's not only a really useful tool for them, but it is also an opportunity for you to collect their information, to begin to market to them, that kind of stuff. So super, super useful tool. Highly recommend having those sorts of interactive experiences available on your website. And if it's something that you're looking for, it's something that Kitchen 365 can implement for you. So definitely let us know. We're happy to help you out there. One last example or thing I wanted to talk about, just as kind of a bonus, not an absolute necessity. Once again, I mean, none of these things necessarily are, but this one maybe more so is kind of ancillary. Not sponsored by Celsius, by the way. But one of the last things I wanted to mention here was like style or inspiration boards. So this is something a lot of the time that maybe an interior designer would do, or even a homeowner that's kind of just trying to help, let's say, an interior designer get the sort of vibe that they are looking for their room. But it's as simple as thinking about an aesthetic and then putting together some ideas for what that aesthetic would incorporate into their design. So just as an example, let's say we were going for like a coastal look, right? When you think coastal, when you think like beach town, Airbnb sort of thing, I'm sure there's a sort of particular aesthetic, maybe a set of colors, a set of styles, a set of things that kind of immediately pop into your brain, right? Well, what's nice is having those sorts of things categorized or something along those lines in some way, either on your site or on social or in some capacity, right, in your marketing efforts. What's nice about that is, once again, it's a way to inspire your customers or a potential customer. If they don't know where to start, if they don't know what they're looking for exactly, this is a way to help guide them. Well, let's see. Are you going for a modern farmhouse kitchen, or are you going for a kind of a really dark, vibey sort of thing? Like, there's options for that, right? If that's your thing, then it's something that we can accomplish. But having those things sort of scoped out in a way, like think Pinterest. It's a great way to go about it, right? If that's a marketing channel that you prioritize, then this should definitely be something that you're incorporating. Think about different guides or different moods that you could use and that could inspire your potential customers. So once again, not an absolute necessity, but something I did want to call out because I think it's interesting, and it's something that some of our clients have used to discuss like aesthetics and style with some of their customers. So maybe if that's something that you want to do, then do that. But make sure, if you are incorporating these sorts of things into your marketing efforts or into your website, that you're adding CTAs throughout to help really start to move those folks along in the buyer's journey and things like that. Because at the end of the day, all this stuff, while it is to help users and potential customers, we want to make sure that we're converting them into actual customers. So that is pretty much all I've got for you today, gang. Like I said, this today was really all about visuals and how that impacts the cabinet business, because at the end of the day, it is a very, very visual business. this is something that people are going to have to look at in their homes every single day. So we want to make sure that we're guiding people accordingly and giving folks every opportunity to, find what they're looking for in as easy a way as possible. So yeah, again, I mean, I hope this was helpful. If it wasn't, it's not my fault. But really do appreciate everyone joining. And if you have any questions, if you want any help setting something like this up, we are here to help. And we've got products and services that can make the setup for these sorts of things really, really easy. We've got proprietary platforms that we can get up for you really quick and say, wow, look at this new banging website with all these, amazing visuals for my business and all of my products. So if that is something that you're interested in, please, please, please reach out to us. You can find us at kitchen365.com. And if you want to talk to Hayden specifically, just ask for Hayden. I'm happy to help. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Hope this was helpful. And if you want to stay in the loop on more kitchen and bath industry or cabinetry industry tips, definitely, follow us on all these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well, if you want to see these after the fact, because we post all that stuff there. Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.